Video is to help you with the conditional formatting part of your take-home task in the ISBN part. So you're told in your booklet to open up a spreadsheet that looks similar in formatting to this, and once you've done that, you're going to be entering certain formulae into cells and you're going to get it to complete certain functions. So I've already got in my spreadsheet something set up already. So if I enter my values in here, you'll see as I move along that my spreadsheet is already calculating those values. You'll remember from your Year 7 take-home task how to enter basic functions, and we always start off with an equal sign. So I want it first of all in this box here to have a total, the total of the first, third, fifth, seventh, ninth and the 11th digit. So I need to use the sum function for that. I open the brackets, and you can enter the cell directly by typing it, but it's probably easier if you just click on the cell with add in between, of course, and close the bracket at the end and press enter, and then your spreadsheet will calculate those totals that you've asked it to. The next one down, doing 3 times the total, so again starting with equals, 3 star is what we would use for 3 times the value, and we want to do 3 times the total, so again we're using the sum function, and then we can enter whichever cells we want it to do 3 times the total of, closing the brackets at the end and pressing enter, and it will do 3 times that total. The next calculation down, adding together 2 values, you should be able to do that by yourself, but the reducing modulo 10 is a little bit more tricky. So from the task, you've learned that reducing modulo 10 is an expression that takes away multiples of 10 of a value until you get an integer between 0 and 9. So the function that I'm using on Excel to do this is the mod function. So when I press equals mod and I open up my brackets, there's a hint that appears at the bottom that tells me I need to put in 2 values. One it's calling a number, and the second one it's calling a divisor. So we know our divisor is 10 because that's what we're subtracting multiples of, and we're going to apply that to a particular value, which in our case is in this cell here, K10. So I separate that by a comma, and I tell it I want to subtract multiples of 10, and close the brackets, press enter, and there it's taken away multiples of 10. And if it was a different modulo, if it was modulo 12, then I'd enter a 12 instead, and it would take away multiples of 12, and obviously I'd have a different value here at the end. Next calculation is subtracting the value that we have in cell K13 from 10. That shouldn't be too difficult to work out for yourself, but it's this last part here, the correct check digit. Rather than us looking at the spreadsheet and ascertaining whether 2 values are the same, we can get the spreadsheet to check this for us using a logical test. So for logical tests, again we start off with equals, but we're going to be using an if. And so if functions test for logical things that have happened. So if I open up my brackets, you'll see that at the bottom the little hint is a little bit more complicated. But all we're wanting to do is to check and see if 2 cells have the same value. So in other words, are they equal to each other? So if cell K17 is equal to cell 03, then I want it to do something. So I put a comma to tell it what I want it to do, and I'm going to get it to print something in the cell. And I use speech marks or quotation marks to show that, and I'm just going to have it to say yes, close the quotation, and then close the brackets as well, and press enter. And you'll see now that rather than having a value or something else, it's saying the word yes when this value here in K17 is equal to this value here. And I'll just check it by changing the values, and you'll see that when it's not it, when it's any other value or even a letter for some reason, then it says false. But when it shows the same check digit as the calculation says it should be, then it comes out as yes. The final part is the conditional formatting, which wants us to change the cell to be a particular color. Now we're going to change it to green. Now we can keep it at white if we want it to, but I'm just going to change that so that it starts off as being red. And black text on a red background isn't the easiest to read, so I'm going to change my text to white and maybe bold it. It's already bolded. Okay, now what I want it to do is I want it to change color when it says yes. So going up to conditional formatting, if I click on this, there's lots of options that come down here that will tell the spreadsheet to do certain things under certain conditions. You can see that there's icons that we could use, maybe a tick marks or a green flag or arrows to show increases or decreases, but we're going to go with a color scale, and I want to put in a particular rule myself, so I'm clicking on more rules. You'll see a list of rules come up. We want the second one down that says format only cells that contain. So here at the bottom is where I tell the spreadsheet what rule I want it to do. So it's only going to format cells where it has a specific text. And the text that I've already got it to enter is the saying yes. Now you've got to make sure that whatever you have in the box here is exactly the same as what you told it to when you were doing your if statement. So my rule is now saying that when my cell contains the phrase yes, I want it to do a certain thing. So what do I want it to do? If I click on format, you'll see there's a number of tabs here at the top, but we want to fill the cell to be a particular color. Want it to be green. I don't like those greens. I like that green. So I'm going to click on that green there, and there my sample there is my preview. So when those values are the same, not only will it say yes, but it will change it to that lovely shade of green. Click on OK, and then OK again, and you'll see that it's changed to yes. I'm just going to check and make sure that this is true by changing that say to a 6, and you'll see that the box has gone back to red and the saying is now false. Change it back to 3 again, which is the correct digit for this ISBN, and it changes back to green.